The desert doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your rank, your training, or how many missions you've survived. It just sits there, silent, waiting. And on that day, in Helmand Province, Afghanistan, it was waiting for Sergeant John Hamilton. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the dusty road. The kind of shadows that made everything look like a threat. Hamilton stood beside his LAV, one hand resting on the warm metal hull, the other gripping his rifle. His platoon was spread out behind him. 30 men, good men, young men. Most of them had never seen real combat before today. He could see it in their eyes. The way they kept checking their weapons. The way they scanned the horizon a little too quickly. Fear disguised as readiness. Hamilton knew the feeling well. He'd been in Afghanistan for 8 months now. Long enough to know that the quiet moments were the most dangerous. Long enough to know that when everything went silent, something bad was about to happen. And right now, everything was silent. The convoy had stopped 20 minutes ago. 3 LAVs, 2 Humvees, a small contingent of Afghan National Police trailing behind in their pickup trucks. They were supposed to be moving through the district, clearing routes, making their presence known. A routine patrol. But nothing in Helmand was ever routine. The lead LAV had spotted something on the road ahead. A disturbance in the dirt. Fresh digging. Possible IED. So they stopped. And now they were stuck. Hamilton walked up to the front of the convoy, where Lieutenant Moss was crouched beside the lead vehicle, studying the road through binoculars. "What do you see?" Hamilton asked. Moss didn't lower the binoculars. "Could be nothing. Could be everything." "That's helpful." "There's fresh dirt about 200 meters up, right in the middle of a road." Classic placement. Hamilton squinted at the road ahead. It stretched out flat and empty, disappearing into a cluster of mud brick compounds in the distance. One of those compounds was painted white. The White School. Everyone knew about it. A Taliban stronghold. Or at least it used to be. Intel said it was clear now. But Intel was wrong more often than it was right. "What's the call?" Hamilton asked. Moss finally lowered the binoculars. "We wait for EOD. They're 20 minutes out." 20 minutes. Yeah. Hamilton looked back at his platoon. They were standing around, trying to look casual, but he could see the tension in their shoulders. 20 minutes was a long time to sit still in Indian country. "Tell the men to stay sharp," Hamilton said. Moss nodded. "Already done." Hamilton walked back to his LAV, his boots kicking up small clouds of dust with each step. The air was thick and hot, the kind of heat that made your uniform stick to your skin and turned every breath into work. He took a long drink from his camelback. The water was warm. It tasted like plastic. His radio crackled. "All units, this is Overwatch. We've got eyes on the area. No movement detected. Stay alert." Hamilton keyed his radio. "Copy that." He looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, a drone was circling, watching, recording. It should have been comforting, but it wasn't, because drones couldn't stop bullets. Private First Class Danny Ortega approached, his rifle slung across his chest. "Sarge, how long we going to be sitting here?" "As long as it takes," Hamilton said. "The ANA guys are getting nervous." Hamilton glanced over at the Afghan police. They were clustered around their trucks, smoking cigarettes, talking in low voices. He didn't blame them for being nervous. This road had seen a lot of blood. "They'll be fine," Hamilton said. "Just keep your eyes open." Ortega nodded and walked back to his position. Hamilton watched him go. 22 years old. From San Antonio. Joined the army to pay for college. Now he was here, in the middle of nowhere, waiting for something bad to happen. Hamilton had stopped trying to make sense of it a long time ago. The minutes crawled by. Hamilton checked his watch. 15 minutes until EOD arrived. He scanned the area again. The compounds in the distance. The White School standing out like a sore thumb. Nothing moved. But that didn't mean nothing was there. He'd learned that the hard way. The Taliban were patient. They could wait for hours, days even, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Hamilton's hand tightened on his rifle. He hated waiting. The radio crackled again. All units, this is Overwatch. We're picking up some chatter on enemy frequencies. Can't confirm location. Stay alert. Hamilton's pulse quickened. Chatter meant they were being watched. Chatter meant something was about to happen. He keyed his radio. Copy. All units, weapons tight. Stay sharp. He saw Lieutenant Moss move to the front of the convoy, his rifle raised, scanning the compounds. The Afghan police were moving too, spreading out, taking cover behind their trucks. Good. Maybe they'd be ready when it came. And then the world exploded. The first rounds came from the direction of the White School. The sharp crack of AK-47 fire echoed across the desert. Dust kicked up around the convoy as bullets tore into the dirt. Contact. Contact, someone screamed over the radio. Hamilton dropped to one knee, his rifle up, scanning for targets. The Afghan police opened fire immediately. Wild, undisciplined, spraying bullets in every direction. Hold your fire, Hamilton shouted. Find your targets. But they weren't listening. More gunfire erupted from the compounds. Multiple positions. Coordinated. This wasn't a random ambush. This was planned. Hamilton saw muzzle flashes from a rooftop. He aimed. Fired 3 controlled bursts. The muzzle flash stopped. Ortega, get on that saw. Suppress that building on the left. On it. The M249 roared to life, sending a stream of 5.56 rounds into the compound. The radio was chaos now. Everyone talking at once. We're taking fire from the east. I need suppression on that rooftop. Where the hell is EOD? Hamilton forced himself to breathe, to think. They were pinned down. The LAVs couldn't move forward because of the IED. They couldn't retreat without exposing themselves. They were stuck. And then he saw the Afghan police. They were running, not toward the fight, away from it. No, get back here, Hamilton shouted. But they didn't stop. They piled into their trucks and sped off down the road, leaving a cloud of dust in their wake. Son of a bitch, Moss muttered. Hamilton's jaw clenched. Now it was just them, 30 American soldiers against an unknown number of Taliban fighters. And they had nowhere to go. The gunfire intensified. Rounds pinged off the LAVs, cracked through the air, thudded into the dirt. Hamilton moved to the rear of his vehicle, where Corporal Hayes was crouched, returning fire. How many shooters you see? Hamilton asked. At least 6. Maybe more. They're dug and good. Hamilton looked toward the White School. It was maybe 300 meters away. Close enough to hit them. Far enough to make it hard to hit back. We need to move, Hayes said. Where? We've got an IED in front of us. Then we go around. Through open ground, we'll get cut to pieces. Hayes didn't argue, because he knew Hamilton was right. The radio crackled. Hamilton, this is Colonel Hope. What's your status? Hamilton keyed his mic. We're pinned down, sir. Taking heavy fire from the White School. Afghan police have retreated. We're holding position, but we can't advance. There was a pause. Then Colonel Hope's voice came through. Calm. Steady. You'll have to show them how it's done. Hamilton stared at the radio. Show them how it's done. That was it. That was the order. No backup. No air support. No extraction. Just show them how it's done. Hamilton looked at his men. They were scared. He could see it. But they were still fighting. Still holding the line. He thought about the Afghan police. How they'd run at the first sign of real danger. He thought about what Colonel Hope had said. Show them how it's done. Hamilton took a deep breath. Then he stood up. Listen up, he shouted over the gunfire. We're moving forward. On my command. Moss looked at him like he was insane. Forward? John, we can't. We don't have a choice. We sit here, we die. We move, we have a chance. Moss hesitated. Then he nodded. All right, let's do it. Hamilton keyed his radio. All units were advancing on the White School. Suppressing fire on my mark. We move fast. We move together. Understood. A chorus of Rogers came back. Hamilton looked at Ortega, at Hayes, at all of them. Stay low. Stay moving. Don't stop for anything. They nodded. Hamilton raised his rifle. Now. The world became noise and motion. The LAVs opened up with their 25mm cannons, sending explosive rounds into the compounds. The infantry surged forward, rifles blazing, boots pounding the dirt. Hamilton ran. His lungs burned. His heart hammered. Bullets snapped past his head. He didn't stop. He couldn't. They covered 50 meters. Then 100. The white school loomed closer. Hamilton saw a figure on the rooftop, raising an RPG. RPG. Get down. The rocket streaked through the air. It missed the lead LAV by inches and exploded in the dirt behind them. The shockwave knocked Hamilton off his feet. He hit the ground hard. His ears rang. For a moment, everything was muffled, distant. Then the sound came rushing back. Gunfire. Screaming. Explosions. Hamilton pushed himself up. Keep moving. They reached the edge of the compound. Hamilton stacked up against the wall, his men falling in behind him. His breath came in ragged gasps. Moss was beside him, blood running down his face from a cut above his eye. You good? Hamilton asked. Yeah. You? Hamilton nodded. He looked at his platoon. They'd all made it. Somehow. All right, Hamilton said. We clear this building. Room by room. No heroes. Understood. Understood. Hamilton kicked in the door, and they went in. The interior was dark, cool, a relief from the heat outside. But Hamilton didn't let his guard down. He moved through the hallway, his rifle up, finger on the trigger. Every shadow was a threat, every sound a potential ambush. They cleared the first room. Empty. Second room. Empty. Third room. Gunfire erupted. Hamilton dove to the side as bullets tore through the doorway. Hayes returned fire, his rifle thundering in the confined space. The shooting stopped. Hamilton moved into the room. 2 Taliban fighters lay dead on the floor. He didn't look at them long. They cleared the rest of the building. 6 Taliban fighters total. All dead. Hamilton stood in what used to be a classroom. Desks overturned. Bullet holes in the walls. This had been a school once. Now it was a battlefield. He keyed his radio. Colonel Hope, this is Hamilton. White school is secure. Enemy neutralized. Copy that, Hamilton. Well done. Hold position. Yodi is on site. We'll have that road clear in 10 minutes. Roger. Hamilton lowered his radio. His hands were shaking. Outside, the sun was setting. The desert was quiet again. Hamilton sat on the steps of the white school, his rifle across his knees. His men were scattered around, some sitting, some standing, all of them silent. Ortega walked over and sat down beside him. That was insane, Sarge. Hamilton didn't respond. I thought we were dead. We almost were. Ortega looked at him. But we weren't. Because of you. Hamilton shook his head. Not because of me. Because of all of us. Lieutenant Moss approached. Colonel wants to see you. Hamilton stood. His legs felt like lead. He walked over to where Colonel Hope was standing beside his Humvee. Hope looked at him. His expression was unreadable. You disobeyed protocol, Hope said. Hamilton stiffened. Sir, You advanced under fire without air support. Without proper reconnaissance. You put your men at risk. Hamilton said nothing. Hope stepped closer. And you saved their lives. He extended his hand. Hamilton shook it. That took guts, Sergeant. Real leadership. Thank you, sir. Hope nodded. Get your men ready to move. We're heading back to base. Yes, sir. The convoy rolled out an hour later. The road was clear. The IED had been disarmed. Hamilton sat in the back of his LAV, watching the white school disappear in the distance. He thought about the Afghan police. How they'd run. He thought about his men. How they'd stood. He thought about Colonel Hope's words. You'll have to show them how it's done. And they had. Back at base, Hamilton sat alone in his tent. His hands still shook. He'd led men into combat before. But never like that. Never with so much on the line. He thought about Ortega. About Hayes. About all of them. They'd trusted him. And he'd brought them home. War doesn't make heroes. It makes survivors. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it makes leaders. John Hamilton didn't feel like a hero that night. He felt tired, scared, relieved. But his men looked at him differently now. With respect, with trust. And that was more than he'd ever asked for. The desert doesn't care who you are, but the men beside you do. And in the end, that's all that matters.